Just want to go over, there's a lot of changes in the new Pioneer, okay? So we've got some real big changes. We want to go over that. Probably one of to me, the bigger changes in the platform is going to be that we've changed the electrical system. We're going to be going over kind of what changed, why the change was made, benefits, impacts to service, and then impacts on the customer as well, right? So we want to understand the full cycle of why we're doing what we did. Okay, so the very first piece we want to talk about, guys, is I'm going to work on that 24 volt T2 plus electrical system. That's what we've gone to on the new truck, right? So we all ask, what is T2? Is that like English T, Star Wars? I mean, we don't know, right? So what that stands for is Truck Electrical Architecture, version 2 plus. Now the interesting piece is they put that on the slide. I went through and I learned about it and I went, weren't we already on T2 plus on the old truck? They're like, maybe, right? So I went back and looked just to check them, and we've been on T2 since 10, US 10, okay? And we went to plus in 17 to handle everything, okay? So what I tell everybody is, now that you've been through mine, you're part of the club. There's a super secret plus, so it's plus plus, all right? We're all on the plus plus program now, okay? That's a big change. Really what we talk about is we didn't technically do a big version change of our electrical, okay? We're still using wires, we're still using connectors, we're still using data links to communicate across the truck, right? So that version throughout there hasn't really changed according to the engineers. We would have to have some big technological change for them to go to what's considered version 3. At least that's what they tell me. I said, I think they were just too chicken to call it T3, right? We'll go there, okay? So that big piece is they say, hey, we're not beaming electrons to cross dimensions to do things inside the truck. We're kind of doing the same thing we've been doing. So I'm like, all right, okay, good, all right, I can teach you that. And then, guys, they said these gray boxes as we go through here are really important. So the all-new 24 volt T2 system efficiently distributes power across the vehicle. There's already my first problem, right? Now, I've learned more since then, but my first thing was, hey, for over 100 years, we've been using 12 volts to move power through a vehicle. That was pretty efficient. Do you guys agree? So why do I have to tell them that this new 24 volt system is way more efficient? They're like, all right, John, just bear with us. Okay, I can bear with you, all right? So then we come over here and they said, hey, we reduced the wiring complexity. And I'm like, come on, guys. I'm going to tell a bunch of tech guys that we reduced wiring complexity. Have you looked inside the truck recently? It did not get any easier, okay? But hey, that's what I'm telling you. We reduced wiring complexity. You like that? Okay. All right. Then we got there and we said, and utilizing around 40 decentralized ECUs. Yeah, and I'm like, here's my problem, right? Stuart, here's what my question was. Just want to make sure I worked on the old trucks. And were all the ECUs in one central location? No, they were all over the truck. They were already decentralized. They're like, be quiet, John. I don't want to get fired by Larry, so I got to be real careful, right? Okay, so what that actually means. Okay, let's get to where the root of that thing is. And this is why I take so long to give you guys this class. I take longer than normal. Okay, there's a lot to go over here. So centralized is not decentralized. That's a marketing term. So it is the type of communications we use inside the truck. So everybody kind of tech people, so a little tech stuff, we're not going to get lost, okay? So here's the deal. This is what I explain to people. Our old system that we were at in the old trucks, and we'll keep that in some of the stuff until we renew the whole fleet, it was what we call centralized communications. So DL7, which is our engine net, right? Okay, so the engine and transmission, everybody's talking together. Well, that is one communication protocol, right? So that's not friendly to everything. Those guys are on a very unique, proprietary, centralized communication system. They're talking back and forth, right? And then the ECU sends some stuff out, and the TECU sends some stuff out, right, onto other data links. Okay, but then when we get to that other data link, that's only talking DL1, only talks DL1. Okay, so what we have is currently If we, my best way to put it, let's say I want to take the output speed signal of the transmission. We all get that one, whether we're technical or not, right? And I want to say, I'm going to add a new feature to our truck, and we want that output speed signal, that new module needs it. Maybe it's our electric steering or iDrive, I don't know. Whatever this is going to be called, the Max Super Ooper Duper special ECU deal we're putting in there. So currently, I got to find a way to get it off DL7, right? So we agree that's just the engine and transmission are kind of talking in there, maybe the ABS a little bit, okay? But we got to figure out how to get it out of there. So let's say I send it up to the ECU engine, and I say, hey, can you send that to the cluster? Because the cluster stands the best bet getting that to the next module, right? So the ECU is going to send that to the instrument cluster. Well, the instrument cluster is like, I'm not the module you want. These are not your droids, right? So we're going to send that over maybe to the telematics gateway, like the instrument cluster, like, hey, I'll send it over to the telematics gateway because it's on a bus that this new module can talk on, right? So think about that. That's either software changes or hardware changes, because if there's more than what the hardware can do or more we need to introduce, it's a lot of changes in the truck just to be able to make additions to modules and custom configurations and pieces. So what if I said decentralized communication means we're not centralized to any one particular data link. So if you look, we have backbone 1 and 2 that we've introduced. So guys, my technical guys will understand those are twin J1939 high-speed 500 kb networks that interlock all the modules. Now we're getting somewhere with that decentralized, right? So now all of that information is available on both of those backbones. So whoever wants to talk, right? I add a new module and hey, you want that information? All I need to tell you is where it's at, on what the address is to grab it off the network, right? So we can get all that. So now, I mean, if we want to add more modules later on, we want to make feature changes inside the truck, we need to do these things. We don't have to do a whole hardware change or software change across the whole truck in order to accommodate the new stuff.
So basically, they took that backbone 1 and 2 and they put it to all modules.
All modules communicate on backbone 1 and 2. You'll see down there at the bottom, we have the subnet. In the old days, a subnet, okay, like after treatment. That's the subnet was the NOx sensors. We all kind of know these terms, and the PM sensor and some of those things. And it was on its own bus, and it only did its own little thing, right? Well, now what a subnet's going to be called? Anybody ever listen to FM radio? I mean, come on, we all old enough to listen to FM radio, right? And you drive, and the station gets all staticky as the further you drive away from it. And maybe it comes in and out. Okay, we can all. That's what high-speed 500 kb communications can do over distance. So if we need to talk over on a high-speed network, we can only go so far. We need kind of a signal booster or a translation module, some sort of piece to be able to get that, to make sure everybody's at their most efficient piece. Easy, right? Okay. So that's what a subnet becomes. A subnet may be a group of modules that are all together, and we're going to put them on a bus, and then we're going to send that to the nearest module to put on the high-speed bus. All of their data is put on the backbone, or has the ability to be on the backbone. So that subnet, and you're going to see later on, I'll show you, we now have what's going to be called in a center chassis I/O module. And that's because to go 500K, that ultra real-time communication from front to rear of the truck is too far. So we need a very center module that's kind of like a signal booster when we could pay things into that. And if it needs to go to the rear, it goes that way. If it needs to go over there, that goes that way.
So this is the new technical name for backbone 1 and backbone 2. This is a new data link, correct?
Correct. And the data link is going to be named backbone 1 and backbone 2.
And it's 500?
500 kb, correct.
500.
Yeah, 500 kb. So anything at 1939, the industry standard says that's between 250 and 500. So the backbones are always going to be at the highest speed. So they're real time, and that gives us the ability to transmit a lot of information, right? Because now all of a sudden we went from just a few modules on that to everybody talking, right? The backbones are more fault tolerant because you can denote how fault tolerant you want your CAN. So that's a CAN communication. So they'll be more fault tolerant. I've tried on my new trucks to induce a no start because I need something for class, right? And I'm amazed that it keeps starting. I'm like, I got it this time. It's not going to start. So if you look there, that enhanced diagnostics, guys, that's really where we're leading into all the words under all this other stuff. The T2 Plus enhanced diagnostics. Well, what does that mean? All the modules are able to talk, so there's more fault tolerance. So we're able to see what's going on. There's less of a chance of a data link coming in and it just being dead and us having to guess what's going on. Okay, that's the good. Yay, and increased diagnostics. The bad. Over 3,800 codes are now available on this truck.
Oh, that's not too
We can weed through those pretty quick, right? So a lot more codes. The good news is, while it's going to log more codes, again, like everything does, but you'll be able to use that group and get it closer to the source issue.
source.
Right, yeah, because now you've got enough modules going, hey, that module, and everybody's pointing at it, right? And that will lead you into better diagnostics. So enhanced diagnostics, from what I've seen, it looks like it's going to be pretty good. There's just a lot, guys. It's more, right? But I don't think it's any different than what we're doing on the technical side now.
You're gonna have like a lot of false codes, get around codes.
I don't. To me, there's no such thing as a false code. So on a CAN bus, I tell everybody this: it's ones and zeros and yeses and nos, right? So if you see a code that's set in there, there's a reason why it's set. Now, should it be there or should you be seeing it? Like an LCM module. I got one truck out there. The LCM module, as soon as you shut the key off, is going to set 3 codes. We call them ghost codes or false codes. We know they're not really real. We don't need to chase those, okay? And it's, honestly, it's in software. It's the shutdown procedure. So like everybody's shutting down, right? And then everybody on their own individual data link has to go, hey, I'm asleep, right? I'm shut down. But if this module that it reports to, because it's centralized, is already asleep because it went to sleep first, that message gets unseen, right?
So now it says I didn't see it.
Right. Another module says, hey, that guy never said anything because that module who was responsible for telling him didn't tell him. And that happens in milliseconds, right? So it's not like we're talking milliseconds, all this stuff. So those false codes you see, so yes, you're going to see that more with this. It's getting better and better. I will say this, the software before, when we started, a lot, right? The software, as I've been reprogramming control modules with the latest, greatest software revisions, that list is going,
I guess when I said false, it's,
No,
say it's when you start the truck, you don't let it cycle, you just go connect
Right.
the key and then
So yes.
you have all these faults, no check engine light, you brought it in.
and you're exactly right. I call them ghost codes. And I get some guys that be like, oh, there's no such thing as ghost codes, because they're really into the CAN bus stuff. And then I get other guys like, oh, yeah, I know, like you said, yeah, false.
You can trace it all day and you're not
Right,
gonna find
you're never going to find anything. Yes, that's still going to be a thing on this for a while. It is getting better. Future ready design, guys. Let's get this next one, future ready design, so I don't get in trouble here. I got to. What do I do with my clicker? Anyways, I'll figure it out here in a second. We're going to go to there. Thank you. You're the man. That's all. If we're going to do hybrids, we're going to do electrical. Right now, if you guys, anybody deal with any of the electrical stuff, if you do electric trucks, then you know for a fact that like a lot of the battery power management units and everything are on their own buses.
Yeah.
They're not able to talk, and we really need them to be able to talk to the truck. With the decentralized guys, we can honestly, it's going to be the same as what we need. So now, if we want to build an electric truck on this platform, it's fine. All the modules talk fine. If we want to build a hybrid, because we decide to go hybridization, it can all talk fine. So the nice part is it really makes this platform much more expandable for all the future stuff we want to do, because we already realize that we can add modules, take modules away, whatever we want to do with this kind of system. And then electrical performance. Okay, well, this was the next one. And luckily they explained it to me, so I'm going to try and explain it to you guys. I get in a lot of trouble because I'm not animated enough. Can you believe they say that about me, Stuart? I'm not animated enough? All right. Okay, so we're going to go over that. So when we say better electrical performance, why do we switch to 24 volts? You know what the difference between 12 volts and 24 volts is?
About 12 volts.
About 12 volts. That's all you need to know, guys. There's nothing more technical than that. It's about 12 volts, right? I mean, and all kidding aside, it's not more complex than that, right? I want y'all to know that. So, but the question is hey, which one's better? That's really the question we're asking. So at 12 volts, all right, Harlan, 12 volts. Can you imagine this is 0 volts? I'm going to be animated for you guys, okay? So can you imagine this is 0 volts? 0 volt hand, 0 volt hand. Jack, 0 volt hand, you good with that? Okay, we got that. All right, everybody agree it's 12 volt hand. 12 volt hand? 12 volt hand? Whoosh. 12 volts. Okay, just want to see if you guys are paying attention. Woke you up, right? Okay, I do know this, lead acid batteries, 12.6 volts is about what we should see on a fully charged battery. Everything's good. That's 6 cells at 2.1 volts if I remember right. Am I good? Yes. All right. I gotta remember my training, all right? Okay, so I know if we started up, and here's the tip. Don't tell anybody I told you this, okay? They might think I know something. You need 1 volt greater than where you started to charge a battery. It's the law of equal potential, right? So 1.1 volts above, we're putting power back into the battery that we just took. So if it's at 12.6, we need expect to see 13.7 at a minimum, the charge. Probably gonna see between 13.8 and 14.2 when the truck's running. Tip strict, don't tell anybody I told you. Shh, right? They might expect more out of me. Okay, so all right, so we agree. We'll just say, if we say 14.2 volts, right? Because we see 14.8, we know something's bad, right? So we'll say 14.2, and anything below what? About 11 volts, we know the control modules start shutting down, right? So 11 volts is our threshold. 10, we're done, right? But 11 volts, we know bad things happen at 11. So we can agree. So we can do the math. I'll just say 4 volts. Would you agree with 4 volts? We'll give it the highest potential we can. 4 volts we have for a danger zone, right? So that's our total working voltage in a truck, currently at 12 volts. So we got a big sleeper, right? Anthem guys driving down, Bob and Bob, team driving. They left their other brother Daryl at home. Okay, they're driving down the road. Bob in the passenger seat says, man, I'm kind of hungry. I'm gonna go back here and fire up the George Foreman grill. I'm gonna fire up my big screen TV that I got bolted in there. We're gonna get the Xbox fired up. We're gonna play some video games, put on some music, all the lights so I can see what I'm doing to cook. Refrigerator's kicking. So he turns all that on at the same time, going down the road. What do you think the chances are of it dropping 4 volts before the alternator can catch up and go? Pretty good, right? Yeah, 4 volt drop, I mean, that's not a real big safety net. So if you think about it in 12 volts, we're fighting that constantly. We're trying to fight bigger alternators, more batteries, whatever we can do to keep from dropping 4 volts. Like that's all we're allowed before bad things happen, or we start setting those weird codes that you just can't diagnose. Yeah, you got it. So if you see some of those come in, it's just natural because we can't not hit below 11 volts. We can't not hit that sometimes with huge electrical loads, okay? All right, here we go. Just for you, okay? 0 volts, right? 0 volts, 24 volt hand. You ready? Whoosh. I put it up there higher. It's not to scale, okay, but it's 24 volts we're talking about. So at 24 volts, what do we know? 2 banks of 12.6, we're probably 25, 26 volts on a 24 volt. If you've ever worked on a bus or anything, it's kind of what you expect to see when you key on, battery's good, okay? Start it up, we still need only one, we only need 1.1, but we'll say 27 volts. Fair? Running, truck running, that's probably low, but 27 volts. I've seen up to 29 if the batteries really need to charge, but we'll just say 27. I'm giving it its lowest. Like, this is a worst case scenario. Okay, then what's the lowest voltage on a 24 volt? About 20 volts. Below 20 volts, bad things start happening, right? Honestly, guys, most 24 volt ECUs, 18 volts are still fine, but man, I don't want it to go below 20 volts. At below 20 volts, we're on a 24 volt system, we're in pretty, but that's 7 volts we got, right? Now, same scenario, what do you think the chances are of dropping 7 volts before we can catch up with the rest of the electrical system? Not gonna happen, right? That's why we moved to 24. As we expanded what we're doing inside the trucks,
So you have better threshold.
big thresholds, electrical loads, we want to put 40 ECUs, we want to put 500 lights and the wheel lights that flash, you know, do the disco for them or whatever that is, right? You know, that they want on the new truck, because that's what the customer demands. We're able to do and keep up with in 24 volts. That's the story, okay? And then the last piece, weight reduction, there's this thing, got that EAC, right? Ohm's law. Yep. We learned that in school, we have to know it, and we never use it, right? Isn't that the joke?
Yep.
Okay, so what I know is that 12 and 24, so voltage is pressure in Ohm's law. Am I right? That's pressure. We kind of call it pressure. There's a little cool thing we show people all the time. It's got like 3 guys are fighting, and one guy's tightening the tube up, and the voltage is pushing the amp through the little noose, right? I don't know if you've never seen it. It's pretty cool. It's my favorite drawing. Okay, so voltage is pressure. Can we agree on that? Voltage is pressure. So if I'm pushing 12 volts down the road, down the wire, we can all agree on that, right? And I hit a little roadblock, like maybe some corrosion. I don't have a lot of pressure to get past that corrosion. Now, if I up that to 24 volts and I hit that same amount, probably going to get past there pretty good, right? Can we agree? All right, so it's more fault tolerant. Guys, corrosion will still stop 24 volts. It'll stop 48 volts. It doesn't care, right? All this resistance and bad things. But if you're driving down the road and a connector jostles just a little bit, okay, you're more likely not to see an issue at 24 volts than you are at 12.
Because you got more to push it through.
Right, you got more potential. You've got everything, you can overcome that little bit of piece there. I also know from that Ohm's law there was math. I failed math. Not good at math. So, but I know that like if this was 12 volts and then that's like amps and resistance, something like that. There were numbers down here. I know I need like half of one of these somewhere, right? So if I needed a 10 amp fuse before, at 24 volts, now I only need a 5 amp fuse. If I needed 10 gauge wire, I might only need a 12 gauge wire, right? And so everything can shrink. So we got more, right? So we don't need as much to make it all work. We're not going to leave the same great big wire because we don't need it, right? We still have more pressure even though we're on that smaller wire. Okay, so that really does our weight reduction. We reduce the weight in the truck so we can add more stuff. That's what my joke is. We're going to add it more stuff.
So without getting sidetracked, why did we go to 24 volt? Why didn't we just jump to 48? Remember quite a few years ago, probably 10, 12, 15 years ago.
48 was the way.
The automotive industry was going to go to 48 volts.
Yeah, well, people freaked out. That was
I was
really there. So the deal was major industries, agriculture, buses, off-road construction, all European, everybody went to 24 volts. So everybody who could agree back in that day when we were looking it up and agreed that they would go to 24 volts. That felt safe for technicians.
Yeah.
48 just seemed like too big of a jump, and people weren't even good at electrical then. So the rest of the world kind of agreed. America did not, so we stayed 12 volts, right? The rest of the world's already 24. So if I need to buy a control module, and I go out there to shop a control module, and it's not like we got guys designing circuit boards and stuff. We go buy control modules and we have them customized to us. And they're like, you can get that 12 or 24 volts. Which one do you want? Oh yeah, I'll take 24 volts. I could convert the whole truck to 24 volts like that. So that's why we went to 24. Had we agreed as the U.S. probably at 48, the whole world would be at 48.
Okay.
But I don't foresee that happening anytime soon. One of the problems is anything over 52 volts is considered hazardous to your health. 48 is very close to that. Charging at 48 would get you real close. Put you at the threshold. So you probably won't see us go to 48. Okay, guys. Now I got to kind of hit the accelerator pedal just a little bit. We got through the first one. That's where they keep yelling at me, and I'm telling them, look, you guys need to know that. That's probably the biggest bulk of what the change is and why we changed it. And now you see the benefit to the customer, the benefit to service, everything. So 24 volts is actually a very positive thing that we've done. The next piece is going to be modular harnesses. In the past, we put in a harness. If you've ever changed a harness, you get all the connectors. Everything's already pre-wired, okay? In today's truck, the new truck, what you are going to find out, 100%, we're worried about weight. Remember we said weight savings. Why would we put wires in you don't need? So every harness is built custom for the truck. The harness manufacturer is right next to the plant. We moved it here to the U.S., so a lot of those delays and shipping delays and the restrictions we had we're not going to have anymore. So that's a very big benefit. But the big piece is, I tell everybody at the point of order for the truck, you're going to be offered modular harnesses. So hey, my story is fog lights. Most fleets won't. A lot of maybe now some do, but safety, right? But used to, fleets never took fog lights. Like, I'm not paying for that. Something more to break on the front end when they hit something, right? Yep. So they didn't take fog lights. So you sold the truck, few years later, they trade the truck in, second life the truck. We're all gonna make a little money, right? So we sell it to Farmer Bob. We love Farmer Bob. Farmer Bob, man, he's salt of the earth. He spends all the money, right? Farmer Bob goes to pull out of his field at night for the first harvest, can't see, needs fog lights. Comes in, don't care what it costs, I need my fog lights. So he orders fog light assemblies, you order a switch, run an accessory kit on it, right? Here's your fog lights. Everybody hugs, everybody's happy. On the new truck, if it did not get the modular fog light harness, it's not wired all the way to the inside to outside. It's not there. Guys, that's just weight we don't need to carry. Adding fog lights is currently, I'm sure there's going to be some way to change. I don't know what's going to happen. But I can't imagine second life because, like I said, Farmer Bob, man, we make our money there, right? The second life of the truck and adding accessories and stuff. So I'm sure sales, we'll figure out something there, but it's not going to be as seamless as it is right now. It's going to be a lot more involved, a lot big overlay harnesses. The cost is probably going to be greater. So what I tell everybody is immediately, if you talk to sales or you're talking to a customer, get them to invest in that. It'll increase the resale value of the truck. And should they want to make a change later on down the road in any way, shape, or form, they have that ability. Currently, if you take bare bones, you get bare bones. And that's the way it's born, and that's the way it stays. So
Sounds like it's going the same way as car manufacturers are going.
Yeah.
Because if you want a feature, oh, sorry, it didn't come with it, you can't get it.
Can't get it, cannot be added, correct. And that's what we're doing. And a lot of that's just to reduce weight and electrical loads and everything like that within the truck, right? So it's not nefarious in any way, shape, or form like people would think. It's more about our customers are demanding, I have to get 10 miles to the gallon on this truck, right? And you're like, well, every ounce counts when you're trying to get to 10 miles to the gallon. So that's where we're at.
And you got people splicing into everything they can, running eyelids here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Scotch locks are much fun.
Yeah, still Scotch locks for all the lights running down the side of the truck, hanging by the Scotch locks. No, never seen that, guys. So inside of here, so with that, one of the things, if you heard, all the harnesses are built for the truck. So to get a harness is going to be 7 to 14 days. They tell us to build it. So whatever that shipping looks like. So that can be problematic. What we're trying to do, what's old is new again. When I was a young man working on trucks, that was a year or two ago, right? Dude, you couldn't get a harness, man. I'm telling you what, a manufacturer sent out a harness, that was like gold. Woo, oh my God, they sent a whole harness? What is wrong with the truck? You fixed everything, man. You changed connectors. You could overlay half the harness. You fixed everything. So that's where we're headed back to, guys, and you're going to find that in the electrical side of this. So I tell everybody, just for your benefit, Jeff, what we did at the assembly line, they put a frame rail down, and then they put this frame rail down, and then they put the chassis harness in it, and then they bolted everything around the chassis harness, all the cross members, engine mounting, and everything. So if you're going to change the chassis harness in the new truck, you're going to pull the engine, you're probably going to pull the transmission, and if it's got a big sleeper on it with all the accessory stuff on it, you're probably going to jack the sleeper up, the cab off of it, to get it all changed out. Yes. Fixing it. That's what they're wanting us. They want us to fix them. So with that, guys, one of the things that they've done, because that is problematic to fix electrical, right? Can't ever find connectors, and you go to parts and they're not sure, and you're looking at impact and you're trying to figure out where all these connectors are. So one of the things that they are working on, so with the new Pioneer, right, and the new Volvo, anything you work on, since I see Volvo on your shirt there, right? All of these, if you look at the new trucks, electrical schematic viewer is really good. Almost shockingly to say, it's very good. All the connectors are in there, everything you need's in there. Because currently, if you have an older truck and you click on the inline connector in ESV, and that second,
They're working on it.
it says what's in progress, right? So you get the little Post-it notes, and that's probably what you really need, that information, and it's not there. So if you look at the new truck, you're going to find out, guys, it absolutely, positively is almost all there. Like the location view, the connector pinout, showing you from the face side for real, instead of like some of them on the back, some on the face, even though they said everything was face view. And you look at the connector, all right, so it's all face view. It's how you expect to see it. Now, by the end of the year is what they're telling me. I've seen a preview. So hopefully they get this sooner rather than later. Imagine if you clicked on that inline connector. So you got all your information. It was really correct. Told you where the connector was, told you all the pin out, right? What if right below that I put the extractor part numbers for the pin out to remove the pins?
Yeah.
That'd be kind of nice, right? Then I could depin the harness right there if I don't have to go look 900 places and cross my fingers super. Right, yeah. So I just tell you right there. And then below that, what if I gave you the connector part number?
And the pin numbers.
And the pin numbers.
That's the way Mac had it.
Yeah, absolutely.
They had the part
What's
numbers.
old is new again, right? So that's what we're working on. We're working on putting on all the connector number, part numbers, pin part numbers. If it's got a plug part number, any seals, and then back straps, all of that information will be on below the connector. So you'll just scroll down and you'll be able to find it. So if you're right there, it's really quick. Parts guys can find. I mean, if you ever worked with parts, if you're a parts guy, and we get a lot. Some of those come here, but we're coming. It's like a blessing because you're trying to communicate with the tech, and he's trying to tell you, and you end up with an e-service case, right? Trying to somebody to just tell me what I need. With this, it should be easy for everybody in the dealer. If you need a connector part number, pins, or anything like that, you will go. ESV will be your de facto location for the new trucks. Only the new trucks. This is not going backwards. Sorry, guys. Too much. It's just too much work to go backwards.
Does that fall into connectors plus, like, if you want to have a data line overlay?
Yeah.
Does that fall in there also?
So like an overlay.
Yes, like for a data line. Say from point A to B, the data line was shorted out. It's not feasible to replace it.
Yeah, it would tell you. So twist. Everything's going to be 30.
Okay.
Yeah, you're not going to find much. I don't think we're doing anything 40. I haven't seen anything 40, but then again, I haven't looked for through the sleepers. I've only been through bulks of it. All the data link stuff is 30 turns. So yeah, you won't be like, is it 40? Is it 30? What are my turns per, for putting the wires together? So yes, the chart will still be there, but yeah, on data links. And the fault tolerance, we're actually more fault tolerant even if you got it wrong. That higher voltage, the higher speed, everything like that allowed the higher potential, same voltages, higher potential allows us to be more fault tolerant. Okay guys, ultra capacitor. So here's what I know. Lead acid batteries, we already had that discussion, using them for 100 years, right? So what are lead acid batteries really good at? They're good at absorbing electricity real slow, right?
Yep.
Real slow. So if you trickle charge a battery, we all know, but you teach that at Western Tech, right? You trickle charge that battery, that's the way to do it. 18 hours at 2 amps, right? It'll last longer because if you put too much in there, the plates and stuff will sulfate and everything, right? Yep, and them same lead acid batteries are really good at giving that electricity back really slowly, right? Real slowly. So what do? We twist the key, and that starter, if you're in the cold, you can be over 1,000 amps, right? We expect to see over 1,000 amps on a cold morning. My NUS guy, negative 20, you twist the key and the starter goes, oh, and the battery's like, I'm just glad I'm not frozen, right? And we try, better get the jump pack. So what do? We kick the batteries right in the teeth. Give me all the electricity. The plates inside of there are just shriveling up trying to start the truck, okay? So that's not what they're meant to do. And then what do? With engine starts? And especially up there, man, you got to have a 300 amp alternator, right? Because between the intake heater grids and everything, you lose so much. So what we kick them right back in the teeth again. Here's 300 amps, right? Try and take that, okay? So very problematic. That's why batteries, and we wonder why they wear out in a year to 2 years, right? It just is. I mean, it's the nature of the beast. You can't continually ask for something that's not designed for that kind of load. Your car, guys, if it's 200 amps in a car, woo, right? I mean, so, when you ask why they last so much longer than a truck, we're dealing in economies of scale, right? Big power, big amps. I do know this about capacitors. They're really good at absorbing electricity, like really good at absorbing electricity really fast, right? And they're really good at giving it away as fast as possible. How fast do you want to dump that out? Capacitors are good at it. So what if we did the best of both worlds? What if we said, hey, we use a capacitor to start the truck, just turn the starter, not start the truck. No, we don't need that for electrical, for anything else. And we use them lead acid or them old-fashioned batteries to keep everything going. We just need just a little bit of power. We're only going to take a little bit out of them, right? Boy, that would make a lot of sense, wouldn't it? That's what we're doing here. I will say this, brand X out there ran a capacitor at one point in time. So if you run into a customer that puts up a little bit of fight and said, hey, I've experienced that way back when we bought X and they had this capacitor in it and it burned up all the time. The deal was, guys, it was a good idea. I mean, the idea still stands true today that it's a good idea. Technology hadn't caught up. They thought the technology was there. They tried it. They had problems with it. Our new ultracapacitor uses very high-end solid-state capacitors. They figured out how to make them really inexpensive. So the capacitors that we're using in the ultracapacitor are the same ones they use in the power grid. So if you have a power grid, you get surges, and so the lights don't flicker and everything like that. There's huge banks of capacitors in our power grid. These are the same types. They've been made to last years, tens of years in our power grid because you can't afford to replace them all the time. So they finally got that technology down. So that's what's inside of our ultracapacitor right there. That's a good idea. I like that. Yeah, that sounds legit, right? So the deal was, all of the technical guys were like, oh, there's too many control modules and so many electronics in it. Oh, it's horrible. At least they'll never make batteries electronic. Checkmate. We heard you. We got this, okay? So one of the things that you're going to find, guys, is this, a BPMU. So this is a battery power management power unit, and we're going to go over this a little more in depth. Because, think about this, engine is either going to charge or not, right? It's looking at the battery, and 300 amps or not. But think about this, if we have all the power we need to start the truck, and we haven't really used anything out of the batteries, do we need to turn on the alternator? Not really. Okay, if we're driving down the road, we're really not consuming a lot of power, and we're trying to get optimum fuel mileage. Can we turn off the alternator? Yep. Sure, right? We don't really need it. The battery's got plenty in reserve, so we can turn off the alternator. We need an extra 10, foot-pounds of torque when we're pulling a hill. Why add more fuel? That costs money. Free to turn off an alternator. So that's really where we're going here, guys. Really smart charging. There's a power management. So if you see, it's a battery power management unit. So we are managing the power inside the truck is what we're trying to do to make sure everybody's happy all the time. And then we can do those fuel mileage increases, performance increases, those big waves, right? We can kind of keep track of those and see if we see where they're coming, right? We start to balance them out and make them little waves, right? And very good for the truck, good for the electronics, good for the durability. All right, and so for customer and value, right there, if we're not killing batteries, I know there's one fleet customer that we have that I train, and they're in the Southeast, so real hot climates and everything, and their truck fleet spends $1 million a year on batteries. Just imagine if you cut that in half. If you said, hey, you can go 2 years instead of 1 year on a set of batteries. This is what they're talking about. They're like, this is where the value comes, right? And I mean, it's even great, can be even greater than that if they're really maintaining everything like they said. So if all of a sudden you save $500,000 a year, the cost of entry, it starts to become and it's not that expensive. You'll see as we look at battery configurations and how we configure it. The truck gets this no matter how you configure it. You're getting this technology. So, whether or not you take the ultracapacitor or not, it's a very small piece, but there are going to be fleets. There are going to be customers, guys, so hear me out. They just won't take it. Like, the guy had brand X, and he's like, I absolutely will never take a truck with that again. Guess what you're not going to put on that truck? An ultracapacitor, right? Yeah, I mean, we're here to sell trucks. We're here to service trucks, right? And we take care of the customer. All we can do is inform them of the benefits and that it's not a detriment. Like, that's the big thing. It's not a detriment. It's a benefit. The next thing here is we got a whole bunch going on in this. I want you to understand, when you get your new truck, it will be in pre-delivery mode. About half the stuff will not work on the truck. You have to take it out of pre-delivery mode. I tell everybody it's a unique process. It's in Impact. Just go to Impact, search pre-delivery, boom, it's going to take you right where you need to be. Depending on how the truck is equipped, there's a series of buttons. It's going to have one of your switches you're going to push and hold, and you're going to key cycle, and you're going to do a couple things, and it's going to take it out of pre-delivery mode. That is from the factory. So we struggled with that when they were first delivered. The guy who, I guess, invented pre-delivery mode hadn't told anybody. So they were all programmed that way, and then we figured it out. And I get it. It's to kill the batteries. Again, guys, it's all electronic. So there's so much going on with the BPMU and everything like that that we can't just say, hey, turn the battery switch off. There's no battery switch available. Okay, and then living, guys, for sure the pre-delivery documents are the design description and function documents, and Impact is, you're gonna wanna look at those. Depending on if it's got a shaft key, there's more positions now than there used to be. And that's going to be depending on how it's equipped, right? If it's got a rear sleeper with a rear living unit in it. So we are offering basically our own APU now, so you can equip the sleepers. That's right here, 24-volt air conditioning compressor. So the theory is, if you see those buttons down at the bottom, the guy's got a sleeper, instead of having to fire up a pony pack or an APU or something like that on the truck, if he equips it here, it's all factory. He just turns off his truck, goes through his buttons, and he puts it in what's called living mode. Yep. So he goes back to the sleeper. If it needs air conditioning, the 24-volt compressor will come on. It'll run. We've got a little diesel heater in there to heat the coolant up if we need to keep the coolant. The whole thing will keep the cab exactly at the temperature they want, right? We're running it off the batteries. Remember, we got lots of battery power. So we run that down. BPMU says, hey, guys, we're getting a little low on voltage. It's time. Engine will start, recharge the batteries, shut off, and then we'll run on the batteries. So that's kind of a very nice feature. Now, there's a lot there. There's a whole bunch of inputs and stuff that can, that have to be met for the engine to start by itself. That can be problematic. First things first, I'll tell you, make sure you slam the hoods on these if it's got the sleeper and the APU. Because if the hood switches aren't there, and we'll see why, because we will not start the engine if the hood's open. Somebody may have their hands in it, correct? Yeah, that would be really bad for you to have your hand. It doesn't know that the air valve cover's off of it, right? Nope. Yeah, it's going to try and start up, the meat grinder 13. Yeah, so we need to discharge the ultracapacitor. We're going to look at that here real quick. Guys, just know that, again, the Impact documents are going to be your friends on how this all works, or the owner's manual for the owners, right? Like, new technology, I always say, this is one of those ones where you look at the owner and go, you really want to read this. Like, once 10 years from now when this is common, it'd be like, everybody, oh yeah, I know how that works, right? But it's as with anything new. Okay, guys, the BPMU, what I want you to see there, this is where we talk about it, right here, what we were talking about. If you look, the red block on there shows you that the ultracapacitor and the starter are married. Like they work independent of everything else on the truck. So if you ask the starter to start, it will turn over for 30 seconds with the ultracapacitor. You can take the batteries out. You can take the battery cables off. You can take the engine out of the truck and just have the starter laying there. As long as you actuate the starter solenoid, it's gonna go. And it's got cables it's going to go for 30 seconds. So that seems problematic, right? If I'm working on the engine and I drop a wrench because I'm running the overhead and it falls down on the starter, we don't want that to happen. So that's what we're showing you there, that runs. Guys, the BPMU, I'm showing you, we got two banks of 12 volts. So we always run 2 banks of 12 volts, or we're running 12 volts individually, because we still live in a 12-volt world, right? Okay, so if the driver gets in, plugs his phone charger in, and it blows up because it's 24 volts, they're not going to be happy, right? How many 24-volt trailers do you see out there? They're not. They're 12 volts, right? So we have a lot of things that are 12 volts that we still got to work with. So that's why you'll see we have 2 banks of 12-volt batteries that we can draw on. And then if you look, the BPMU is constantly trying to equalize to make sure they're both at the same set of voltages. So we're not trying to drain from one or the other, right? So it's got to equalize the banks. So that's part of its management job, is equalizing the two banks of 12 and combining them to make 24. Then if you look, the alternator, I was telling everybody, engine control module used to control the alternator. He wasn't responsible enough, so we have fired the engine control module's responsibility from managing charging of it. We have hired the BPMU to manage charging, okay? So we've had a management reorganization inside of the truck as a fun way to say it and a good way to remember it, that now this guy's going to tell them how to charge. So LIN bus, we're going to take our battery sensors. So remember I said we're only putting back what we take out. So if you look at any newer car, past 10 years, the car has this battery on it. Itty bitty, guys. We only need itty bitty voltage and itty bitty amps on a car, so you know it doesn't take a lot. Guys, big trucks, big amps. Okay, so we need big sensors. So but this is one of the things that you're going to see that it is on there. So that guy tells us how many amp hours we're taking, what current we're taking out of the batteries, so we can make sure we're putting it back. All right. The big piece on that is a periodic maintenance on these trucks is to charge the battery. So if there's anything that takes out while these are off, everybody's asleep, we don't know to put it back. That's where that trickle charging came from, right? Anybody ever had a trolling motor on a boat, a deep cycle battery? And it takes a long time to get them charged up long enough to run the trolling motor for a long period of time. So that's kind of what we're running. AGMs and a lot of the stuff you're going to find out. So that deep reserve that we need for like the trolling motor, okay, we got to put it back. If we get that a little lower, we don't know that it's low. We don't have a way to look inside the battery. So we know it's come out. We always put that back. So periodically, just to top off the batteries, we say when you've got it in for service, charge them to full. Easy.
Alternator I think the videos we watched, it said something about the alternator was going to be 12 and 24 volt output.
As far as I know, they only did 24.
Okay.
So the current one is
So then
24.
it's up to
Now,
us.
there's going to be a California model, what you saw, that's going to run, so for 25 emissions in California, we have to be able to dose SCR at idle.
Yeah.
The problem is to keep the exhaust temp that we need at idle above 250 C, right, for vaporization. We got a 48 volt grid heater, and there's a 48 volt alternator that drives that grid heater. So there can be two alternators. C2 alternators, it's a California emissions package. There you go. All right, next one here, guys, that's real important. That's letting you know about battery health. The next piece is going to be for charging batteries. We're on this battery kick. We talked about all that. Very important that you understand that the batteries are good. Charging the batteries, we're all going to have to do that. Remember, there's two banks of 12, they're 24. We don't charge batteries the way we used to. So there's a CBR 2404, okay? CBR 2404. Please print that, look at it, familiarize yourself with it. I'm telling you, I'm a little older than I look. We'll just go with that. I know I look real young, right? Exactly. And I'm just telling you, I have trouble, like, the way you can charge with 12 volts, because guys, we're two banks of 12, so we can definitely charge 12 volts, or we can charge 24. If you see how you have to hook up a 12 volt charger to this truck, you will not want to do it as a tech, right? Because you got to go positive to 12 volt positive,
On the truck,
right?
then to
The positive goes to the 24 volt positive. So you're on positive and positive. And you have to have that in the right spot so the BPMU understands that the equalizing doesn't print the bulletin. Okay, very important. That's really what we're talking about here, guys. Absolutely. These three CBRs, the best practices for charging in the electrical system on 24 volt is CBR 2466. Good read. My real experienced guys, even just a quick brush over. If you got a young guy that's coming in, you got a young guy in the shop, you definitely want to make sure he gets a chance to read that before he touches the truck, okay? And then CBR 2404 is how you charge it's going to cover what's called jump charging the truck. We no longer jump start the truck.
Sure.
We jump charge the capacitor. So that's a different way of looking at how to deal with it, and that 2404 covers that. I'm telling you, we're not supposed to give bulletins away, but if I so, I'd almost give that to the customer, especially if they're owner or operator. Like, hey, you need to know how this works.
Yeah.
Like, you need to have this information. That's more imperative to me.
Because I'll tell you right now, there's gonna be a lot of road guys in that.
Whew. Yeah, exactly. You're saying that to the road guy that comes out, right? So there you go on that. And that's where we're going to talk about our configurations, guys. Configuration 1 is 2 batteries with an ultracapacitor. So these are all that you can see out there as you see the trucks come in. Again, we have to build these trucks the way the customers want them. We have to sell the trucks. So if he just says, I don't want an ultracapacitor, we're not going to go, well, you just go buy somebody else's truck, right? You're a good customer. You've been loyal to us for years. You don't want an ultracapacitor, we'll take it away. So that's the 4 battery configuration. Can be had with or without. Again, what's that?
They did this for the customers for the without capacitor.
Correct, without.
'Cause they're-
Yeah. They don't want that. It's just too new, it's too foreign. What I tell you is, if you look, the BPMU, all the charge sensors, everything's on the truck. The only difference is it doesn't have an ultracapacitor. Okay? So that's the only difference. Just take that off the bolts. And if you can see the studs right out in the center photo, above the batteries, you'll see 2 big studs in there. That's where the ultracapacitor would normally bolt. So if it doesn't have one, you'll look in there. You'll either see the big thing hanging there, or you'll see nothing, and you'll see some studs sticking off there. So that's how you can cut real quick, down dirty, lean in there, take a look, and see what it has. Okay. And then configuration 3 is going to be 6 batteries. Generally, those are mostly going to be AGM deep cycle batteries. With an you're only going to get an ultracapacitor with that, and that is going to be for our big sleepers with APUs and everything. So we need a lot of battery power to run all the compressors and everything for as long as possible. So you're going to get 6 batteries, but again, if you're spinning that on a truck and you're equipping it like that, you're not fighting us over 2 batteries, right? If you could hold 8, you'd hold 8. So we want to do that. The battery maintenance disconnect switch. This is the last big piece, okay? I want you guys to understand, especially my techs, right? My tech guys. So we talked about that ultracapacitor. Yeah, it's either on or off. It's either charged or not, okay? So the deal is that we want to be safe when we work on the truck. We don't want to shut a battery switch off. I address that because we have a lot of modules that need to talk and do their things, okay? So we don't want a driver just shutting it off, otherwise you're going to get 3,800 codes every time you shut the battery switch off. But if you're going to work on the truck and we want to make it safe with an ultracapacitor, you're going to take some shielding off to get to where the BPMU is. So it's not, you cannot reach in there and touch this or the maintenance disconnect switch without taking some bolts out and taking parts off, all right? So it isn't like the driver's accidentally going to throw the switch or anything. When you get in there, that switch is just like the Flaming River switch. It's a battery, it's a hard battery disconnect. So we can disconnect the batteries. It's going to kick a lot of codes. Things are going to happen, right? Techs and the guys at our shops are well equipped to deal with that. You already have PTT. You have everything you need to fix it, okay? So we expect that it's not going to be new to you guys, that when you disable the truck or unhook the batteries, that you already know you're going to have to go in and kill your codes, right? So nothing new there. So we're going to do that. Now the next big piece is we've got to drain the ultracapacitor, okay? So capacitors are really good. I need this guy right here. This, gentlemen, is the ultracapacitor discharge tool. And what we're going to do is you're going to turn the maintenance switch off, and then we're going to unhook the ultracapacitor. Guys, it's 24 volts, not 600 volts. It won't kill you, it won't hurt you, right? Now again, I mean, it's no different than any battery. If you're all hot and sweaty and you lean down on a battery, you know you leaned on a battery, right? So I always say it's twice the amount of sparks, twice the amount of wrench welding if you're not careful. All those things still happen. Okay, so we're going to take the cables off. When you get the cables off the ultracapacitor, you're going to bolt these in the place of the cables, right? Bolt those in place of the cable. We're simply going to take our switch, turn this on, and we're going to wait 6 minutes. It only takes 6 minutes with this tool. 6 minutes. At the end of 6 minutes, we're going to take our voltometer. We're going to place it on the ultracapacitor, and if we're below a volt, we've discharged the ultracapacitor. That's all there is to it, guys. That's all there is. We're gonna leave so once we do that, we're gonna remove this. Okay? So the thing about a capacitor is they store energy really fast and they discharge it really fast. Static electricity in the air can charge a capacitor, any capacitor. That's how good they are at absorbing electricity, right out of thin air, okay? So if you look at my ultra capacitor, it's got a wire on it, guys. So that wire comes from the factory. Any wire will work. You can use a coat hanger if you want, I don't care. As long as you get a sizable wire, it doesn't have to be 12 gauge or whatever, but like, at least use a decent wire and connect the two posts together. If you do that on a capacitor, there's a positive and a negative, right? It can't charge. It literally just cannot charge. It becomes a big brick, right? So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put a wire on there. Can't charge. That way when we do all our work. If it needs to sit for a week or two, maybe the customer's making their decision what they're doing. Okay, we don't want it to charge in that week. So we go back, now we work on it. We know it's safe to be in there working. When we're done, we take the wire off, we bolt everything back on. Tell your parts guys, if they get one out of the box and it's got a wire on it, somebody wasn't playing a trick on them, that wire is supposed to be there.
And that'll be a good wire to keep in your toolbox.
Absolutely, yeah, if you ever have to replace it. They're pretty durable. I mean, like, we really haven't seen any problems out of them. I mean, they're rated for like 1 million starts or like million discharge. Like it's astronomical because it's a power grid capacitor. I don't know that we'll, how about this? We haven't seen any problems out of them. Reserve my right to say something different, but the technology is really good and the deployment's really good. So we shouldn't see a lot on that. But if you do, it's a wreck, or maybe maybe one does really do it bad. I mean, there's always a chance that happens. Keep that wire, right? Keep that wire, or whatever you want to use.
The ultra capacitor, you said it has enough voltage in it to crank things for 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm. 30 seconds is generally a fully charged, everything being normal. Again, my NUS guy, if it's negative 20 outside, you're not going to get 30 seconds of runtime on the starter. The starter's pulling way more power, right? It's a power density storage unit, so it has so much to give out. So if it's negative 20 out and the oil's cold, it's probably going to give you 10 seconds or 15 seconds of crank time, but enough to start the truck. Absolutely start the truck. Okay, so that makes sense. That is what we're doing, guys. That leads us into hibernation mode. Remember that, like they called it, that pre-delivery. Because the modules stay on all the time, we can only tell them to go to sleep, because every once in a while, we want them only to peek their eye open every once in a while to look to see if they're supposed to be off, right? Not all the time, because that's what creates huge power draws on the truck. So the battery saver switch, chassis mounted, old Flaming River switch, everybody used that already, right? So we know that everybody gets out of the truck every day, they shut that switch off, they drain the wet tanks, they check their tires.
Okay.
No? Okay, so the theory is, guess,
Tell me how a battery switch.
I'm just saying, a lot of our fleets say that they're supposed to, right? Like we all know they're supposed to, whether they do or don't. Otherwise, if they did every time, we wouldn't be doing wet system failures in our air system, right? We know that it happens. Good drivers do it. I'm not taking that away from them. Bad drivers don't. So the deal is there's a lot of fleets that require we have a on-off switch for that. That is an input to the BPMU. That switch that we add to them on the frame rail, it does nothing. There's no battery cables run to it, no nothing. It's simply an input, an electrical input to the BPMU to tell it to force everybody into hibernation. That's it, okay? That one, I don't think it'll be any better than the Flaming River switch. The one, we have one that we can put in the dash. That's the one I see being more problematic that you guys need to know about. So if there's multiple drivers of the truck and the guy gets out of his truck and he turns off the power switch, right, and puts it into forced hibernation, and the next guy gets in the truck and doesn't realize that guy shut the switch off. He thinks everything's dead. Now it gets towed to the shop. And all you got to do is go click, turn the switch to take it out of power saving mode, okay? There's talk, some of those may be being wired to override with the keys, like if you turn the key on, it would I don't know. My favorite though is the battery. It's like if you get the touch, yeah, double click the remote, man, it winds the windows up, shuts all the lights off, flashes the lights once so you know that it did everything, and puts it into hibernation mode. That's pretty sweet right there. That's what I'm saying.
So
I
can you
like
have
that one.
all three of these on a truck?
No, you can have a battery switch and a key fob. I've seen,
So you can
but
have two?
technically, I think they're doing away with that because I think they fight each other.
Okay.
So as far as I know, you're only supposed to get one.
Okay.
You're only supposed to get one. I know that they built a certain amount of them with two, but
So more likely we're gonna probably go with the one in the cab possibly?
I think if it's got the key fob, the one in the cab will not be in there.
Okay.
You're only going to have the key fob. Again, that high end of a truck, they were trying to give them as many options as they could, and they were like, "Oh, the guys, things can get confused, so we need to take one out." Everything else will probably be by order. Like more than likely, if it's got the chassis switch, it's going to be because the company was like, "Hey, we want a chassis switch."
What if a customer, they decided they ordered a truck with just the mechanical keys, and they said, well, I want the battery, I want the remotes.
As far as I know,
As
there's
built with it?
as built,
Okay.
as built.
Back to what?
Currently, again, if sales is very good arguments like, hey,
Okay,
we should be,
do it.
yeah, we need to be able to do that.
Okay.
So be on the lookout. They may or may not. I don't know. I don't want to tell you guys anything wrong. I know as of right now, if you had a customer asking, you either order it with it or you don't.
Okay.
Okay. Last thing, guys, is our jump charging. Last couple things, jump charging. That 2404, that's really important. What the deal would be if you ever went out to a truck and it's got bad batteries and you have some jumper cables, you could be there quite a bit of time before it charges up. You know, you got a jump box on it, you got jumper cables. If it's negative 20 out like you nuts guys, right? It gets cold up there. We might have 5 different ways to add some energy into it. The theory is if it's got ultra capacitor, guys, we don't jump start the truck. We're going to jump charge the capacitor. So we just need the power density to put in the capacitor. Again, we're in a 12 volt world still. I mean, there's still a lot, everything's 12 volt. We're just now going to 24 volt here. We can't call bus technicians out to work on our trucks if they're broke down, right? There's a lot of people who repair them on the side of the road. We know them old service techs, right? So they're going to roll up in their old F100 Super Ford Ranger, right? Got some jumper cables, and they're going to try and help the guy out on that's got some dead batteries. He don't have a 24 volt truck, right? So you can actually hook 12 volts up to the jump charge post. If everything goes right, the BPMU will see that's there. It will turn on. It will allow it to charge the capacitor, the ultra capacitor. Sorry, that's back behind me. And then it'll apply enough power to the truck to allow it to come on. The good news is the ultra capacitor is doing all the work, right? So it's going to start the truck. So about 5 to 6 minutes is what it should take to charge the capacitor. So now, instead of 30 minutes or longer trying to charge something, technically we can jump charge one in about 5 minutes. Depending on the level of the batteries, if the batteries are completely flat, that's what I would tell everybody. Like something's stayed on, or they hardwired their chicken lights and the wheel lights that flash and do the disco thing and all that to the batteries, and they left them on and walked away and the batteries are completely dead. Okay, you're gonna need that 2404. You're gonna have to go to the batteries then. So be aware that currently anything below 10 in the bank, the BPMU can struggle to turn on its equalization circuit, and then that jump charge isn't as effective. So just be aware of that. When you get one in there, you want to make sure that when you get your first truck, charge the batteries real good, keep an eye on them, that 2404, and then know that. But the good news is if you have the customer, you can tell them, hey, that red piece is 12 volts only. You can use jumper cables, you can use your jumper box. Still, you're going to charge the capacitor. That's the way we want to do it, okay?
So when you said charge the batteries like on a service, you're gonna charge them off this jump post, or
You're gonna go directly to the batteries, and it's
follow
going
CBR?
to follow that CBR, and depending on what voltage you're charging with, it will be how you hook up to the truck. And it's a very specific place where you place the cables for all the different ways of charging. So the best way I can tell you that, we could spend hours just talking about that process and the way equalization works and everything like that.
So these posts here are for 12 volt for charging,
12 volts. They're for charging, jump charging.
jump charging.
Right, that's it. 12 volts. So, we're hoping that, the truck guy, the guy trying to help the truck driver out,
Emergency.
right, is in an emergency. That's where we want them to go. One last thing, guys, and then we'll be done. We ran way over, but they didn't yell at me because lunch should be here, hopefully. Electronic parking brakes, guys. No more air in the dash. This is all done electronically. As this has been done overseas in Europe for a very long time. This isn't a new technology to the U.S. Okay, some of the ways we interact with it will be unique to the U.S. We have our own safety policies and everything like that. But the thought process is, the guy opens the door trying to back the truck up. What do we currently do? We honk the horn, right? Beep, beep, beep. That's all we can do. Guy can get out of the truck and go try to get a milkshake or something. We don't care. We just honk the horn. It's all we can interact with it, right? If we're lucky and we leave the door open long enough and we see enough vehicle speed, we can put it at neutral, which we don't even want to do that, right? Because now it'll roll faster, right? Put it in neutral. We may not get it back in gear. So we have those things. Now, with the automatic engagement, one of the things that we can do, if you go to get out of the cab, we can apply the brakes. So the spring brakes, guys, not the service brakes. We apply the spring brakes, but the parking brakes, and we can slow the truck down or all but stop it. Up to 7 miles an hour, if they open the door, we'll actuate that. The brakes apply, okay? Above that, I don't know what we do. I'm not brave enough to try and get out of the cab at above that mile per hour, right? The nice part is that also allows us some nice features for the driver. So if you get in the new truck and you put your seatbelt on, right, and you start the engine, and then you reach over and you put it in drive, it'll automatically release the brakes for you. It looks at the trailer protection valve, it knows if it needs to release the trailer. So you're good to go. Like, you just get in it and drive away. Really nice feature. First time I did it, I was like, I don't know how this, and after I did it, I was like, oh yeah. I was like, that's all right, I really like that. But go ahead.
Would this truck go into gear if you don't have your seatbelt on?
It will. You can actually.
Because I just drove one a little while ago that not in a Mac, a different vehicle.
Right. It wouldn't.
It wouldn't go into gear until you put your seatbelt on.
I can see that. I'm sure we can program it like that. If you ask for that feature, it's simple. I mean, again, with decentralization and everything, what do you want it to do? We can just program it, right? So if a fleet was like, I absolutely don't want that truck to go in gear unless the driver has a seatbelt on, that ability's here.
We already got seatbelts and sensors.
Yep, seatbelt sensors. I mean, so, again, we didn't have a way to prevent people from doing things. So the big piece here, guy, is absolutely, you can use it manually, but the big piece here is going to be for safety. So guys, when you go do the walk around and everything like that, you're going to see we have all these great electric steering. We have all the new radars. We have all these new pieces, lane keeping technology that can be equipped, 360-degree cameras. So guys, we kind of know what the truck's doing. So if the guy's driving down the road, something happens, he has to swerve real hard, he hits his head, becomes unconscious. Currently, what do we have? We don't have any repercussions. The truck will keep going as long as it'll roll until it stops itself, right? That is not very good. We don't want that to happen. We want to try and help this guy. So now, with lane keeping and all these, if we see a major departure event, we can say, oh no, something has happened, right? So we can go ahead and set the brakes. Guys, it ain't gonna stop it like you slam on the pedal, but we'll slow it down. I mean, it ain't gonna roll any further than it has to. We'll absolutely slow the truck down, okay? So we're like, all right. So now, as we know that event happened, we're gonna go ahead and dial 911 for them, right? We know something bad's happened. I mean, this isn't just like, ooh, we brake too hard. This is a bad event. So as long as there's a SIM card in the telemetrics module, any SIM card in the United States that's authorized, we'll dial 911. If you guys didn't know that. So we'll dial 911. Say, hey, get the paramedics on the way, right? Something bad happened. Okay, so driver's still not interacting. This is all milliseconds. So then we can say, hey, we know that we need to set the brakes. We dialed 911. Maybe an airbag deployment. I mean, that's probably going to be pretty rare to see airbags in the Mac, but that kind of deal. If we saw that, but we're going to go ahead and unlock the doors.
Yeah, because they can't get in.
If they can't get in, I mean, if the paramedics or whoever show up and they want to get in and help the guy, right? Yeah, break a window or cut the door open to try and help him. Okay. We don't know if they'll unlock or not. I mean, they depend on the damage, right? But we're going to go ahead and try and unlock the doors 100%. And then the next thing, the very last thing we're going to do, we're going to turn on all the interior lights. Again, we don't know. I mean, we're going to try. We turn them all on, so not only do they open the door, but now they can see inside the truck and say, hey, is there somebody injured? Is there anybody in the sleeper? We're going to turn on all the interior lights. I know there's some fleets that will have this opted out, that it'll turn on the hazard as well. So yeah, it'll automatically turn on the hazard. So it's more of a safety device. And now we have some sort of, we call it remediation. We have a way to remediate if there's an error within the truck. Like if you open the door, you do these things before. We could honk a horn, or we could just, good luck, guys. Now we have a way to actually help people, remediate. But, passenger cars do that same thing. Like if you have an airbag in your car go off, most of them won't dial 911, but they unlock the doors, they turn on the lights, they do all these things as well. So it's all safety, right? So that's kind of the story there. So that's the nice piece with electronic brakes. Impact, there is a way to set a service brakes to release the brakes, like you would an air valve. That's new in Impact. Somebody had asked me a long time ago, like whether or not that was there. I didn't know. I just found out yesterday. It's recently been how to do it has been added to Impact. So if you do brakes and you need to release the brakes, or you do a safety inspection and you want to look at cams if it's got drum brakes on it or something like that, there is a manual procedure. So if it's on jack stands, everything's safe, and you need it to release the brakes and then get out of the truck. So when you open the door, it doesn't automatically set the brakes for you. All right, guys, man, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, let me know.